So the New York Islanders have eliminated the Florida Panthers in their best-of-5 series, defeating the Florida Panthers in 4 games in their qualification round. We'll be taking a look at the New York Islanders winning the series, the details in this video. If you like what we're doing here at Goal Line Hockey, want to see the latest news around the NHL, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and a subscribe down below. Now let's take a look at how the New York Islanders beat the Florida Panthers in their qualification round. So the New York Islanders have defeated the Florida Panthers in their qualification round series in a best-of-5 series. The first team to win 3 games, and the New York Islanders were able to do that in 4 games. The New York Islanders did pretty well. I mean, this was a solid series for the most part for the Islanders. The Florida Panthers had their moments where they looked pretty solid. Obviously, in Game 3, the game that they won, they showed more desperation than the Islanders, and that was pretty apparent when they had their backs up against the wall. Unfortunately, they weren't able to keep that going the rest of the way as the Islanders showed that determination in Game 4. They proved that they were the better team in this series, and they were able to beat the Florida Panthers in 4 games. So we're going to take a look at the details of this series, how things laid out, and the big thing that we're looking at here to start things off is the Islanders' second line. The New York Islanders' second line of Brock Nelson down the middle, Josh Bailey, and Anthony Beauvillier on the wing. This was a great line for the New York Islanders. They really seemed to be getting things going, and they really, that was the Islanders' best line throughout this series. The third and fourth line, even the first line at different points for the Islanders was pretty quiet at certain times. The fourth line, obviously we know, Casey Cizikas, Matt Martin, and Cal Clutterbuck, just what a great line they have been over the past couple of years for the New York Islanders. And that was a difference maker at points in this series. And then obviously for the Florida Panthers, their top line of Mike Hoffman, Alexander Barkov, and Jonathan Huberdeau, they were a threat through a large portion of the series. Their power play was pretty lethal against the Islanders, and that was even well shown in the first period of game number 4, where they scored 12 seconds into their power play late in the first period. That was the only real chance we saw the Florida Panthers maybe come back in Game 4 as they were down 2-0, made it a 2-1 game going into the second period. Unfortunately, things just did not work out for the Florida Panthers. They really couldn't get much going. And as we saw in the third period, the Islanders started to run away with things, and they were very opportunistic. Matt Barzal with a great goal later in the third period, and that was kind of the dagger into the throat for the Florida Panthers. No pun intended. That was it for the Florida Panthers at that point. Jean-Gabriel Pageau puts away the empty netter, and the New York Islanders win this series in 4 games. A 5-1 victory for the Islanders in Game 4, and they were just a very opportunistic team, as we could tell. In the third period, the Islanders had this set up. They were up 3-1, and they just kind of had to ride it out. And we saw what happened last game in game number 3, where they were tied at the end of 2 periods. The Panthers came out with that desperation. They scored 2 quick goals early in those first 5 minutes, and that was it. And the Florida Panthers were able to shut things down. Unfortunately, they were down going into the third period, and with Barry Trotz's style of play and this Islanders team so defensive-minded and just getting the puck deep and having, the Florida Panthers logo in front of them at all times pretty much, it made it difficult for the Florida Panthers to find a way to come back. Not to mention Semyon Varlamov, who had an unbelievable series for the New York Islanders. And going into the series, I was actually a little surprised. I really thought they would be going with Thomas Greiss. And it seemed like that was the guy the Islanders were going to be going with, considering how things had gone. But unfortunately, fortunately for the Islanders, it worked out. Varlamov had a great series. He had a really nice series overall, and I think that was huge for the Islanders. Sergei Bobrovsky did not have a bad series. I mean, even here in Game 4, he had an unbelievable save on Anders Lee in the first period, but unfortunately, it just wasn't enough, and there were some key goals at key points that he wasn't able to get it done. I think overall, he had a good series, but the Florida Panthers, there was some issues with Mike Matheson the first 2 games, and Coach Quenneville took him off the ice, and that was it for Matheson. So there's definitely some things there with the Florida Panthers that I'm a little bit concerned about. Obviously, every time Alexander Barkov was on the ice, he was a threat, and I think that was really huge. Not to mention Mike Hoffman had some pretty important goals as well. Huberdeau was in the mix as well, putting up more of the assist in this series for the Panthers. Brian Boyle and his line were okay, but for the most part, that was really it for the Florida Panthers throughout most of this series. it was really the top line that was the most lethal, and besides that, it was really a no-show there for the Florida Panthers offense. And it was kind of the same story for the Islanders, but that first line was able to get things going at the right time. Matt Barzal scored a little bit. A couple goals from Matt Martin and Pajot as the series went along, and that was really the difference here in this series. Two very solid teams. The Florida Panthers obviously have some things they have to fix up. We saw Quenneville kind of in Game 3, kind of just throwing out whatever worked, kind of in desperation mode. You knew Bobrovsky was going to stay in between the pipes, which I don't think that was the problem here for the Panthers. But he didn't play that amazing, and I think they're paying him a lot of money. I think they're expecting a little more out of Bobrovsky, and it definitely didn't help that Varlamov looked really solid in this series as well. So that's it for this video. Comment down below, how do you think the Islanders and the Florida Panthers series went? I think it was a pretty exciting series overall. It started off pretty fierce and nasty in those first 2 games. I thought it was a really great series overall, and you could tell as the series went along, the Islanders took control. They were pretty well disciplined, and they were just able to play their game. And the Florida Panthers, high potent back and forth, high skill, high potent offense. They just were not able to get that going against the Islanders' defensive mindset, and that was glaring as we got toward the end of Game 4. So comment down below. What do you think of that? What do you think the Florida Panthers have to do in the offseason? They've just signed some, pretty big guys in last offseason, guys like Brett Connolly, Nola Chari, Anton Stralman, Sergei Bobrovsky. So what kind of moves could we see the Florida Panthers make? This was a huge opportunity for the Panthers to keep the ownership happy, and, they just spent a lot of money, and they really weren't making that much success. Technically, they didn't even make the playoffs this year. They only made the qualification round. So there's probably going to be some change there for the Florida Panthers. Panthers fans, let me know down below, what do you think the Panthers have to work on? And Islanders fans, we're back in the playoffs for a 3rd consecutive season since that guy left. So things have been pretty exciting for the Islanders, and hopefully a sign of good things to come here as we get later into the Stanley Cup playoffs. So that's it for this video. If you like what we're doing here at Goal Line Hockey and want to see the latest news around the NHL, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and a subscribe down below. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.